Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today, we have one more set of great revenge stories. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. Dispute over an alarm clock ends a career. A recent petty revenge story made me remember this experience from my teenage years, but this one definitely went all the way to pro. Strap in. It's going to be long. So just before my senior year in high school, I turned 18 and bought a car with my saved up years of babysitting money. I'd have liked one sooner, but my mother absolutely refused. At 18, in my big act of teenage rebellion, I went out and bought one. A couple months later, Auntie A-hole suddenly left her job from several states away and moved in with us, without her car. It cost less if she waited 6 months until spring to get it shipped. Something about snowbird travel patterns? She was cheap and a user as well as an a-hole. As a result, I was expected to share my recently acquired car with Auntie A-hole until hers arrived. This seemed deeply unfair, but nonetheless it was agreed upon that she could use it for appointments and job interviews since I could take the school bus. I needed to be warned in advance because my bus stop was the second one on the route. It left a lot earlier than I needed to if driving direct, and I liked sleep. You may be wondering about now what this has to do with an alarm clock. Auntie A-hole is one of those people who likes to rile people up, then mock them for getting PO'd. She's always got a complaint, harsh word, and is feuding with somebody over something. Once she moved in with us, her complaint was my alarm clock. My room shared a wall with hers. The alarm was waking her mooching, unemployed broke butt up every morning, and that had her PO'd. Couldn't I just go to bed earlier so I didn't need an alarm clock? The morning schedule at our house went something in the ballpark of this. 5:30 a.m., my workaholic mother leaves for the office. 5:45 a.m., my alarm goes off if taking the bus to school. 6:15 a.m., my alarm goes off if driving to school. 6:15, I leave if taking the bus to school. 6:45, I leave if driving to school. 1:30 never, Auntie A-hole's unemployed tushy needs to be somewhere. Auntie A-hole approached my workaholic mother about the horrific inconvenience of my using an alarm clock. Her solution was that my mother should wake me up every day at 5:30 before leaving. My mother told her to try earplugs or work it out between us. Workaholic mother was massively non-confrontational and wanted no part of Auntie A-hole's dispute. Auntie A-hole started sneaking into my room to unplug the clock after I fell asleep. I'm a hard sleeper, so she pulled this off a few times. I had a good number of tardies before I figured out it wasn't the new cat who initially got blamed. Woke up to see her standing over my bed one night. Creepy. I screamed like a banshee, waking the whole house. She claimed sleepwalking, and my mother let her get away with that lame excuse. I endeavored to solve the problem myself with some super glue. Not the brightest move I made. That house got sold with a bonus electric blue alarm clock, and Auntie A-hole started turning the alarm off instead of unplugging it. So I started sleeping with my alarm clock tucked behind my pillow. No way Auntie A-hole could do anything to it without waking me now. She was PO'd at not having gotten her way, and never let anything go. Auntie A-hole's next move was to get up when the alarm went off and race into the only bathroom with a shower. It was closer to her room than mine, so she always beat me there. She'd stash magazines in there to sit on the commode reading until around 6:20. This is after the school bus had left, but still before I need to leave driving direct. Once I was taking a very rushed shower, she'd steal my keys and take my car, wherever the hell unemployed people go to drive around all day. She claimed that I just wasn't paying attention when she said she needed the car. She wasn't telling me. When my mother wasn't around, she made snide remarks that if she was woken up, she has just as much right to the bathroom as I did. I could solve this problem by not waking her up. In addition to this, she would take my car evenings and weekends, always right before I had babysitting gigs. Never returned it with more than fumes in the gas tank. She had to call roadside assistance twice for running out of gas because she'd guessed wrong on how far she could get on fumes. Needless to say, I was PO'd. Also massively inconvenienced and a lot poorer. I had to beg friends for last-minute rides or take a cab. She continued to blame me, and my mother stayed out of it. We got into a cat and mouse game with my keys where I eventually kept them on me at all times, even in the shower. This was an old car some years back. No electronic keys were harmed. The keys came in the shower with me because the counter wasn't even enough to stop her from pulling the bathroom lock, pocket door, trivial, and coming in while I was showering to take them. Again, creepy. This eventually resulted in her asking in advance to borrow my car for a job interview that probably wasn't. She went to the key shop and got my car keys copied. The next day, my keys safely back in my possession, she pulls the shower stunt again. She did it a lot, even when she wouldn't take my car. Auntie A-hole was an a-hole. I head out to the driveway, keys in hand, and my car's not there. Legit, I thought she'd hot-wired it until I got home and it showed no signs of tampering. I'm not much for poking the bear, but it was time to have this out. Auntie A-hole quite smugly admitted to copying the key, called me a selfish bee who didn't know how to share, and many other unfortunate things I don't remember exactly. She wasn't giving it back. What was I going to do? I warned her that the car was mine, and she did not have permission to use it ever again. This was a bridge too far for me. There would be consequences. She laughed in my face. The next morning, my car was not in the driveway. I'd expected this. My best friend's dad was a cop, and I was practically a fixture in his house for a decade, and he was the closest thing I had to a father figure due to my own deadbeat dad. So I gave him a call, utterly distraught that the car I'd worked so hard to get has been stolen from my driveway. He's very sympathetic. Did I mention my car had LoJack? It was actually a very nice car, back when it was new anyway. We do all the reporting and whatever it takes for the cops to find it with LoJack. By mid-afternoon, they found it in the parking lot of an outlet mall. I don't know what the full details of the encounter were, as I've heard multiple versions of this part of the story over the years. She had some kind of B-word tizzy on them upon being accused of theft, including a tussle with an officer. It ended with charges of grand theft auto, resisting arrest, assaulting an officer, and some kind of license-related thing because she'd never switched it to her new state of residence. Don't throw a B-tizzy at a cop. They don't like it much. As this all took some time, she didn't get arraigned that day. As her unemployed broke butt had horrid credit and little money, she couldn't make bail. As I deleted her answering machine message, begging my mother to come bail her out, my workaholic mother didn't even notice she was gone for almost a week. Once workaholic mommy did notice, I explained that my car had been stolen and I called the cops. I was handling the situation myself like she suggested. The look of dawning horror was amazing. Then she shrugged and went back to avoiding all confrontation. Auntie A-hole served 2 weeks in county lockup until she took a plea deal. I suspect they slow-walked her paperwork a bit. What happened after was glorious revenge. Auntie A-hole's remaining savings were used up on all the fines and court fees, so she finally got around to shipping her car and engaging in a job hunt. One problem: she was previously a teacher. She'd yet to get her certification in her new state. Now she had a rap sheet and was unable to pass the background check. Oops. Time for a new career as a telemarketer. Auntie A-hole didn't bother me much after that. I learned years later she only went after kids hard, and I'd proved enough of an adult she realized there were consequences for her actions. We spent the next few months ignoring each other before I headed to college. And that's how a dispute over an alarm clock ended Auntie A-hole's teaching career. And our next story. Damage my home? I'll take yours. My mother-in-law is a pretty well-off woman. She owns a large number of rental properties, and her husband have a huge house located just outside New York City. It's got an indoor pool, sauna, elevators, etc., and is worth well into the seven figures, being only 5 minutes from downtown Manhattan. Sadly, her husband passed away, and she remarried and moved out of state. She put the house up for rent shortly after. A broker approached her with 2 prospective tenants. The tenants were music producers and had some legit acts they worked with. One of them was the business guy, and the other was the talent. The talent I'll call Ben. The 2 were partners in the beginning, and the business guy made sure the rent was paid on time. He was legit and didn't screw around. They used the house as a place for artists to chill out and work on their music. After a couple of years, Biz Guy and Ben had some sort of falling out, and the Biz Guy left, and Ben stuck around. At first, he continued to pay the rent on time, but after a few months, it kept getting later and later. By itself, not the worst thing. Owning real estate, it comes with the territory. But he started getting aggressive and racist as the mother-in-law kept insisting that she needed to be paid. Mother-in-law's not a mean person and values politeness and manners above all else. Finally, mother-in-law had enough and had him evicted. After the eviction, they went through the house and assessed over $100,000 in damage. Cigarette burns in the carpet, stains on the walls, pool filters and plumbing damage, etc. She took him to court, won, and had a lien placed against all his property. Ben was dead broke at this point, aside from his home, and she just didn't see the point in trying to get blood from a stone, so she moved on. Fast forward about 15 years. Mother-in-law receives a notice in the mail that the bank is foreclosing on Ben's home. Because she had a lien placed on all his assets, the bank was asking a judge to dismiss her lien so they could collect what they were owed from the sale of the home. Mother-in-law was obviously going to contest this, but then she got clever. She approached the bank and basically said, "Look, sell me the house at fair market value, less what I'm owed, and you'll save on foreclosure costs, brokers, lawyers, etc. I have cash on hand, and it's a win-win for everyone." Bank agreed, and she purchased the house for almost 25% below market value. Mind you, that 25% was money she was owed anyway, but still, she didn't think she'd ever see it again. Of course, given all of Ben's a-hole behavior, she wasn't going to just take the house without him knowing who was taking it, so she found out the day they were moving out and stopped by. Ben had a bit of difficulty placing her. It'd been over a decade since they last spoke, but once he realized who she was, he basically cussed her out. She never said a word, just smiled. She's since rented out his home to a lovely family with no issues. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.